What is up, guys? Del Boy here. So, this was a fight that was being talked about a lot amongst hardcore boxing fans in the UK. On paper, it was very evenly matched, and a lot of people out there, including myself, were looking forward to it. But Ohara Davies versus Jack Catterall, wow, what an absolute stinker. I'm not going to do a round by round breakdown of this fight. I'm not going to get into too much detail, but it really was an awful fight. I don't know even where to start, to be honest with you, but let's start with Ohara Davies. He lost the fight by a unanimous decision. I felt Jack Catterall won this fight 8 rounds to 4. I don't think there's a case for Ohara Davies winning this fight at all. Ohara Davies, to me, he's definitely a guy, in my opinion, who has fell in love with his power. He clearly hits very hard at domestic level. He scored a lot of knockouts. He's heavy-handed, but he waits for that one shot way too much. And tonight, that one shot didn't come, and he was doing nothing. He was throwing some jabs here and there, like pouring jabs. Wasn't stepping into them, wasn't doing anything else, wasn't trying to force the pace whatsoever. He was sitting back, sort of half-stepping in with a jab, not really doing much. Jack Catterall himself wasn't doing much either. He was clearly wary of the Ohara Davies right hand. He was getting in and out, he landed some nice sneaky left hands here and there, but again, he was fencing with his jab. Not many clear, strong Jack Catterall jabs were getting through. He was just doing a little bit more. He was actually using his power hand. He was doing more, and he was stealing most of the rounds because Ohara Davies just wasn't doing anything. It really was an awful fight, and I think Ohara Davies has caught the arrogance of a puncher where he just expects that one shot to land and that's it. This fight was winnable for Ohara Davies as far as I'm concerned. It really, really was winnable. He should have let it all hang out a lot earlier. He should have really gave it a go a lot earlier. Even in the 12th round, he wasn't really forcing the issue. So many technical flaws with Ohara Davies. Yes, he's raw, he's a puncher, but in terms of his technical ability, he's got a lot to work on. Yes, he's awkward. Yes, Jack Catterall struggled to read him at times, but he wasn't using that to his advantage at all. One of the things that annoys me about Ohara Davies technically is how he throws a jab. So I've noticed when he throws his jab, a lot of the time you don't see him stepping with it. It's not delivered technically very well. So what I mean by that is he'll throw his jab, but he half pulls out at the same time. So he'll throw his jab, but he's not committing with it at all. It almost looks like he has a fear of getting countered. Maybe that stems back from the Josh Taylor fight, maybe. The jab to me seemed a lot better before that fight, and I still don't think he's gotten over that Josh Taylor fight. I really don't. I think that defeat did something to his confidence. And to me, that manifested tonight. The jab, he was pulling out when he was throwing it. He was scared of getting countered. And, he didn't leave it all in the ring. That's just what it was. I really feel this fight was winnable for Ohara Davies. I think Jack Catterall, he didn't do much at all. Didn't do much at all, but he done more than Ohara Davies. I felt Jack Catterall was fighting a fight where he was boxing to a plan. He was boxing as well as he could box. But Ohara Davies just was clueless in there. Clueless. He could have done so much more. Even if he just resorted into trying to force the issue and try and pressure fight, that would have been a better game plan. What he did in there, I don't know what he was trying to do. Well, he was trying to look for that one big shot, which wasn't working. The corner advice for Ohara Davies was terrible. No rollicking, no urgency in the corner, no tactical advice, nobody telling Ohara Davies he needs to be more committed with a jab. Nobody telling him to double up on the jab, hook off a jab, try to take advantage of Jack Catterall's low lead hand. None of that. None of that at all. Jack Catterall, a punch he was throwing a lot in this fight, or not a lot, but it came up quite regularly. Was when he'd throw his lead left to the body, and the right hand counter. Why wasn't his corner saying try and counter that left hand to the body? Things like that. There was no technical advice in that corner whatsoever. Terrible on Ohara Davies's part. And listen, I'm not digging into him. I like Ohara Davies. I was rooting for him in this fight. I think he, like behind all the bluster and all the showboating and all that nonsense, I think he's a genuine kid. But I just think he got it wrong tonight. I really, really do. And Jack Catterall won this fight. Again, I'm digging into Ohara Davies, and it sounds like I'm not really crediting Jack Catterall. Listen, Jack Catterall deserves credit. He boxed to a game plan. He won the fight. He never took a single flush right hand throughout this whole fight. Defensively, this was as good as I've seen Jack Catterall. But again, I go back to Ohara Davies. Was that just because Ohara Davies, was reluctant to throw that right hand? Weird fight, man. Weird fight. Disappointing. Credit to Jack Catterall. He won the fight clearly, as far as I'm concerned. No case for Ohara Davies winning that fight, But in regards to Jack Catterall, where does he go from here? I would like to see him go to European level, fight for a European title. He's now beaten Tyrone Nurse. He's beaten Ohara Davies at domestic level. He's clearly a cut above that level. Let's go to European level, try and win a European title, and then maybe a world title eliminator middle of next year, and world title shot at the end of next year. That's the route I would go for Jack Catterall. But listen, again, and as for Jack Catterall, it sounds like I'm not really impressed with his performance. I don't mean to come off that way, but I just think a lot of this was down to Ohara Davies not knowing what he didn't know what he was doing in there, and I truly believe that. But I've said about Jack Catterall on this channel. There are moments when he looks real quality, but he's a guy who tends to switch off and not really keep his concentration. What I was impressed with was how he kept his concentration throughout this fight. That's always been one of his flaws. So going forward into bigger fights, that's a positive. When Jack Catterall, or if Jack Catterall gets a world title fight, at least we know he can sort of maintain his composure at a decent level. This was a fight where he had a danger man in the ring with him. He had a guy who could knock him out of one punch, and he definitely, his concentration was definitely better as a result. But ultimately, disappointing fight. This really disappointed me. I was really looking forward to it, but it is what it is. Credit to Jack Catterall. Credit to Jamie Moore. Deserved winners as far as I'm concerned.